What's up guys, my name is Darren Jackson, welcome back to the channel as always. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while now, granted, by the way guys, if you're new to the channel, thank you for subscribing to the channel, thank you for watching my videos, trust me, I appreciate it more than you guys ever know, thank you so much. But anyway, for those of you guys that have been following the channel for some time now, you may have noticed I've been talking about different stocks that are relative to clean energy and renewable energy and making sure the earth is clean for our future kids and all that good stuff. Granted, a lot of the companies I've been talking about were companies that you guys wanted me to talk about, which trust me, I definitely appreciate, and I'll keep this going as long as you guys keep me going. But I would be lying if I said that I wasn't interested in companies that pertain to renewable energy and clean energy. For starters, in a humane sense, it's good to build up these companies and hopefully for these companies to build themselves up to be a pivotal part of society as far as reducing greenhouse emissions and, like I said before, making sure the world is cleaner for our future. But on top of that, we know there's potentially a huge financial benefit in the long run into investing into these companies. Companies I've talked about such as Carnegie Clean Energy, American Battery Technology, and to a certain degree Metamaterials, since Metamaterials uses sunlight on a lot of their applications with their nanoweb film technology, so you can kind of put them into the mix. But in today's video, I want to talk about a company in the electric vehicle sector that I actually haven't talked about in a while, and back then I used to talk about it a lot when I was just investing into it. And that company is called Hyliion Holdings. Now, based off the poll that I put up a couple of days ago, it seems like a lot of you guys have no idea what Hyliion Holdings is, which is great because maybe by the end of this video, the information can persuade you guys to, if anything, look more into it and maybe even add it to your watch list. And as far as investing into it, that's obviously up to you guys because I'm not a financial advisor. But speaking of which, hopefully by the end of this video, I can further explain what Hyliion Holdings is, the reasons why I invested into Hyliion Holdings, and some of the updated news that they've come out with since I last talked about them, which was probably earlier this year or last year. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get started. So first question, what is Hyliion Holdings? So Hyliion is an electric vehicle based company founded by a guy named Thomas Healy that's headquartered in Austin, Texas. Okay, so that's a really important information. No, I'm just kidding. So besides that, Hyliion is an electric vehicle company with the ultimate goal of providing electrical solutions for Class 8 vehicles, Class 8 or semi-trucks. Now at the gate, their goal is a lot different from a lot of other companies that I've heard of. Now we have companies that make electric vehicles for cars and trucks and semi-trucks and stuff like that. But I personally, maybe it's just naive of me, have never heard of a company that provides electrical solutions for Class 8 vehicles. It's like, here's your vehicle, but we can give you something on top of that to provide an electrical solution for it, so you can be part of this whole world change for the better. And that goes into the two different ways that they go about doing this. The first way they go about doing this is with a fully electric vehicle that they offer called the Hypertruck ERX. Now the Hypertruck ERX runs off RNG or renewable natural gas. It uses that fuel to fuel up its generator, which powers up the batteries, which then powers up the electric motor and sends that power to the rear axles. The rear axles are pretty cool as well. They can actually store power in a sense, so you're not wasting electricity. And this happens typically in positions where the vehicle doesn't need to run its engine to move, for example, if it's going downhill or something like that. But I'm not gonna dive deep into that. I just wanted to elaborate that the rear axle has a lot more to do than to actually just push the vehicle. But overall, that's a really cool option that companies or people that own fleets or individual Class 8 vehicles have to pick from. But the other option I think is really interesting, and that's what out the gate made me want to invest into Hyliion, and that is their powertrain solutions. So as a Class 8 vehicle owner or fleet owner or anything like that, you have the option of either picking their Hypertruck ERX to have a fully electric vehicle out the gate, or you have the option to take your current diesel or CNG powered Class 8 vehicle and have added on electrical components from Hyliion to turn your vehicle into a hybrid vehicle. Some of the components included in the pack will include the cockpit display so you can see other information, the electrical axle, I believe batteries, things like that that can be installed, I believe, within hours. And you can, again, turn your diesel fueled or CNG fueled vehicle into a hybrid solution. It may be naive of me, but again, this was the first company in the electric vehicle field that I ever heard of that provided solutions to your already gas powered vehicle to turn it into a hybrid vehicle, as opposed to just offering hybrid or fully electric vehicles. So them going on both ends of the spectrum, I think, is really diverse and really awesome. They also offer battery pack solutions, which honestly is something new to me when I first re-looked into this company about a week or so ago, but we can go into that on another day for another video if you guys are interested. Now, overall, those are some of the basic things about what Hyliion Holdings is as an entire company and what their place is, or what they hope their place is in society. But that goes into what I liked about the company, what made me want to invest into them, and what makes me want to continue to hold my investment into them. Now, before I give you guys my first reason, I just want to preface this reason by saying, based off the survey yet again that I put on YouTube for you guys to answer, a lot of you guys may not understand the reference or the significance of this reason on why it made me want to invest into Hyliion, but that's okay, I'll explain that a little bit. But the very first reason was the fact that they actually had mileage with their vehicles on the road. So that's really important because, for one, whenever you're investing into a company that's just making its way into the stock market or is about to approach the stock market, you want to make sure they have had experience with their product, they've actually tested their product, and it's even better when there are companies that have actually used their products and continue to use them. And Hyliion was that thing. I believe they already had partnerships with companies like Agility, where those companies will actually use their electric vehicles, therefore producing a lot of experience miles on the road to further prove that their hybrid solutions or their Hypertruck ERX was actually doing good things to help attract other customers. It's a lot harder to put a product out that has had no experience out the gate. On top of that, during that time, and especially if you actually invested into Hyliion back when you could only invest into it through the SPAC that reverse merged into it called Tortoise Acquisition, you may have remembered another EV company that was getting really popular right before that called Nikola Motors. We all know how that ended. Didn't end great, but the stock's still there, and hopefully they do some good things in the future, but we're not going to talk about them. But point is, that strengthened the fact of me being really interested in a company that already had experience on the road. Now, going back to the powertrain solutions, that was actually the second reason why I wanted to invest into this company out the gate, because from my personal knowledge, they were the first company to actually offer electrical solutions in the form of components that they can install into a gas-powered vehicle to turn it into a hybrid. What's also pretty cool about that is, now granted, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I would assume that if a customer, for example, that owns a company that includes 100 Class 8 vehicles in their fleet, would probably save more money in the long run if they wanted to go electric and chose to just add 100 sets of components to each vehicle to turn them into hybrids, as opposed to buying 100 new electric vehicles or hybrid electric vehicles, in the long run at least. Because I'm sure a lot of us know that Class 8 vehicles are pretty expensive. I think the average price is over $110,000, so that's really expensive. And these components, I'm sure, aren't cheap either. But in the long run, that's something that'll probably save them more money as opposed to just buying a whole new vehicle. Speaking of buying a whole new vehicle, obviously Hyliion yet again offers a Hypertruck ERX, which is a good option. But I think when I first invested into this company, I really didn't think about the significance of the Hypertruck ERX when it comes to solving the world's problems, or being part of solving the world's problems with emitting gases into the atmosphere. And that is its ability to produce net carbon negative emissions. Now, we all know what net carbon zero emission is, or basically, if you don't, it's basically the goal of going from emitting CO2 into the atmosphere to not emitting CO2 in the atmosphere. Pretty simple as that. But net carbon negative is something a little bit different. It could hopefully speed up the process, and it's actually really beneficial for this company in particular. So not only is the goal to not release CO2 into the atmosphere from this particular company, but also they want to be able to use the existing natural gas in the atmosphere to power their vehicles so it can continue to not emit CO2 into the atmosphere. That natural gas, again, is the RNG, or the renewable natural gas, that they use to fuel the generator in their vehicles, to power the batteries, to power the motor, to power the rear axle. So they're doing a 2-for-1 thing. And I think that's also really beneficial because there are companies that are beneficial to our society and to our world that unfortunately do emit CO2 into the atmosphere. So it gives them the ability to be able to do that, while at the same time having another company that can offset that natural gas and somehow store it with some type of bioprocess and use that as fuel to power whatever they're doing that will hopefully not emit any more CO2. So I think that's a really cool thing. So those are reasons why I invested into the company. But again, it's been a while since I've actually talked about this company, and since then there's been a lot of news that's been coming out. So I'm gonna briefly go over those. So the first news that Hyliion announced is that they have joined the Russell 2 and 3000, which are basically index funds that track the largest stocks in the stock market. Doesn't seem like really exciting news, but it's really beneficial in the long run, because whenever a small company joins an index fund, it gives them more exposure. Basically meaning you have now the option to either invest into the company by its own ticker symbol, or you can invest into an ETF that tracks the Russell 2000 or the Russell 3000. And in the long term, that can be really beneficial because if you have more exposure to investors and the company starts doing better and builds up more traction, the chances of them making more money increases higher. If they make more money, they could be more eligible to joining other index funds such as Dow or NASDAQ or even the S&P 500 maybe later on in the future. So in the long term, I think it's cool. They also announced an expansion, their headquarters facility in Austin, Texas, which is going to be really beneficial to them in their production. So not only will this expansion allow them to hire, I believe, 500 more employees or a lot more employees at least, but it will allow them to have twice the amount of production in their hybrid powertrain solution assembly, but it will also allow them to have 3 times the production of their battery pack development. So obviously more space means they can produce more. Being able to produce more will hopefully in return create more revenue in a shorter period of time, which we will see as investors. Other things that we want to see are partnerships. Now this company has actually had partnerships. I mentioned in the past, they partnered up with companies like Agility. They've also partnered up with companies like Wegmans, and they actually announced another partnership with a company called Detmar Logistics. Now Detmar Logistics is in the oil and gas industry. They actually transport sand to other oil and gas companies to use for fracking. Fracking is basically using thick sand to break down softer sand and sediments to be able to produce petroleum. But even though they're in the oil and gas industry, Detmar wants to use their fleets of vehicles and convert them into electric vehicles. Ultimately, they want to take their fleet of 100 vehicles and convert them all into electric vehicles. But so far, they signed a contract to obtain 10 electric vehicles from Hyliion. So it's a really good start, and hopefully it turns into the other 90 and maybe attracts more companies. So definitely a good thing to sign up for more partnerships with other companies. But overall, guys, those are the reasons why I invested into this company. And these are some of the updates that make me more interested in investing more into the company, because I'm definitely going to hold on to them because the company has been dropping a little bit since their peak of like 50 something dollars a share. But you know, long-term hold, you just gotta not pay attention, but oh well. But guys, let me know, what do you guys think in the comments below? Is this a company that you have invested into, or are you interested in investing into it? If not, tell me why. Tell me why. I love having these conversations with you guys, especially if it's something pertaining to something that I missed or something I may have said incorrectly. Please let me know in the comments below. We're all just trying to grow as investors on this investing journey. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And speaking of videos, make sure you guys watch some of these other videos, which I hope help you guys on your investing journey as they have in mind. Once again, I do appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, take care.